Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Shayna Cersei and I'm so excited to paint with you today. We're going to do another page in our watercolor journals, and today is actually day 100 since I started this project. And a lot of folks have been asking, my husband included, what are you going to paint for day 100? And I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it, and I was like feeling really pressured to make it something special and unique and interesting. But then I thought about the whole point of this exercise of painting in our journals, and doing 365 of them to get a full year of painting in. And the whole point of a journal is for it not to be precious or super stressful or super important or super unique, is to use that space to develop your creativity, to try and experiment and play with new techniques or to practice techniques. Nothing in here should be so precious to you that you don't have the ability and opportunity to learn from it. So I'm not going to do anything special for video 100. I'm going to do something I've done before, probably, and will do again. So I am just going to paint a landscape. So it's a landscape night tonight, and I'm so sorry if you're not a big fan of the landscapes, but that's what we're going to do today. And if that doesn't work out for you, that's okay. You can move on to the next video, which will do something else and something different. So today I was driving home and the sky was on fire. It was gorgeous. It was a beautiful, spectacular display of a summer evening sunset. So that's what we're going to try to paint today. And I am using, so my sketchbook or my watercolor journal is a Bao Hong watercolor journal, 6x9 size. I have it taped here. I have a 1/2 inch masking tape. If you can see it, it's white, so it blends in quite a bit. I am using a size 10 Velvet Touch brush. I also have a size 6 and 4 here next to me. I have my Core watercolor paints, QOR by Golden. And yeah, I'm just going to dive right in. All of these are the supplies I use are linked in the description. And all of my colors in the whole palette are listed, and I will go over them as I use them. So, all right, so this one view that I really loved on my way home, I did take a picture of it, but I can't actually see it right now because it's on the phone that I'm actually recording on at the moment. So I'm going to go from memory and just try to make it fun and interesting. So I was driving down this big hill. I'm going to take my pencil and just try to recreate from memory kind of what I saw there. So there was this nice little hill in the background, some kind of like dusky mountains back there, and then there was this clump of trees. So there were some trees right here, like in my foreground, and like I'm driving down a hill here. And then there was also way up in the foreground a telephone pole, which I'm actually going to include in this. So it was like right here. So I'm just sketching this out really loosely. And I think my painting is going to be like that too. It's going to be really loose. And then there were a bunch of wires that came across. So this was not like super clean, like beautiful landscape where there's like no weird obstructions. There was a house, there were cars, there were stuff in the way. I'm just going to put the telephone pole here. Hopefully you can see that. I'll draw it in a little darker because I am going to put it in silhouette against this background, so I'm not worried about it being too dark. But telephone pole with these little things sticking up on it, or electrical pole. I don't know, telephone or electrical. Someone will tell me in the comments, which I love you all for. Probably a little bit of both, but wires on either side, and then we have these kind of mountains in the background. I may have added a few more than are actually in the background. And then this all up here was sky and like beautiful orange clouds. Okay, so that is where we're going to start from. Okay, so I'm going to start with the sky actually, and then we're going to work our way down. The sky was this beautiful, beautiful bright orange. So I'm going to take some of my, let's see, I'm going to start with some cadmium yellow. And I'm going to take a little bit of Quinacridone Magenta. Now, if I had an Opera Rose, which I'm just out of, I would use that. It's a little bit brighter, punchier pink color, but this is what I have. Put a little over here too. So this is straight Quinacridone Magenta. I'm going to add lots of water to it. And this is an orangey color mixed with the two. I'm going to add more water to it. So I have yellow, this orangey color mixed between the two, and Quinacridone Magenta. So let's lay some of that in the sky. So I'm going to start with my lightest color. I'm going to start with a little yellow. And we are going to be, and I'm going to do this really loose, leaving my pencil lines in there. I'm going to pick up some of that pink and some of the orange. These were like super bright orange clouds, and I don't know that I can achieve that exactly with the colors I have in here, like the luminescence of it, but I'm going to try. Because what happens is when you put down light colors on a white background, they look super light, like they don't have a lot of contrast next to them. But once you start putting in contrast, which we will do, they will start to pop out and become brighter. All right, so I left a few white areas. We're going to come back to this in just a little bit. This was a very dark, dusty blue, the rest of the sky below the clouds. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm actually going to bring this down a little further, and then I'll paint that in. All right, so I'm going to go to the base of this painting down in our mountains here, and then maybe work my way up. The very last thing I'm going to paint in is the silhouette of the electrical pole or wire. So I'm just pulling out a little bit of extra water in here. All right, we're going to let that dry while we work on our other color. I'm going to take some ultramarine. I'm going to have to make a space for myself in here. Some ultramarine with some Payne's gray. Make this really dark kind of navy color, almost black. I'll add some water to lighten it up, but I am going to use that for my mountains. Go right over my pole. And then this is actually going to be trees in here. It's going to cover that up. I'm going to paint this one a little bit lighter. And the same for the one in between. I'm going to give it a slightly different shade or color. All right, we're going to let those dry. So we're going to let all that dry, and then we're going to start to build in some of our other pieces. All right, we're back and things are pretty dry. I am going to add another bit. I'm going to take some more ultramarine and some more Payne's gray. Make a nice saturated dark color. I'm going to put that in here, in between. And then I'm going to take more Payne's Gray. Oh, let me back this up a little bit. There we go. Okay, I'm going to take more Payne's Gray. And I'm actually going to switch to my slightly smaller brush here, or very smaller. I'm going to take the size 4 in my Payne's Gray. And I am going to put in this tree cluster here. So at the very top, there's going to be some spacing. And I'm just stippling in kind of the tops of these trees. There'll be like a pine tree cluster. But as we get lower and lower, and they get denser, you're going to see less white space in between. And I probably should have waited one more step to put these on as well, but I was so excited because I could have done the rest of the sky underneath. All right, now that I've done the top, I'm going to switch back to my other brush. I'm just going to kind of fill this in. This is all going to be dark down here in this corner. And you can make your little tree clusters however you want. Much bigger, much smaller. I'm going to put some other just silhouetted things down here. Let it spread out a little bit. It looks like it's a lot, but when I peel off this tape, you're going to see there's going to be like a tiny little line right there. And I'm going to go up this way. Now I'm just kind of making stuff up. Even though all of it's really made up, I took a picture of it, I looked at the picture, I put the picture away, and I'm just kind of trying to recreate the look and feel from my imagination. Okay. That looks fun. I am going to go back up to this area of the sky, and I need to create kind of a lighter, dustier, slightly more purple. So I just added a little Quinacridone to this navy, or the Payne's Gray and the Ultramarine. And this is still wet, so I'm going to be careful around there, but we are going to work our way around this big cloud bank up here. And if I were to do this all over again, I probably would do it differently. I'm actually just going to go right in here and let these bleed a little bit, and I'm not going to get too fussy about it. All right. So right now that looks like another mountain range, but I'm going to incorporate this purple color into my clouds here. All right, so we're going to go back to the clouds, rinse my brush off. I am going to throw in more magenta on top. come all the way down here to the base. Oop, got it in my trees. And really tonight, I am just letting my brush flow. I am probably making a bit of a mess. I'm trying not to be too worried about it. I'm just trying to recreate that look, that feel of that very bright and vibrant sky. And you know what? I might be successful and I might not. I've messed up the top of my trees over here. I'm gonna go a little slower, maybe avoid this area, let that dry. And now I'm gonna bring in more purple to kind of scatter in between. Because what I noticed in the sky was it had lots of little areas where there were shadows and that you could see through the brightness of the clouds to a darker kind of purplier color. So that's what I'm going to throw in now. And just bopping back and forth between my pinks and my yellows and oranges. This is super pink. Just have fun with the drama. All right, I'm going to let this dry again before it gets too crazy muddy. We're getting muddy. It's getting overworked, but that's okay. I'm getting my painting fix. And if you are following along, I don't want you to try to recreate every single brush stroke I'm creating. I want you to try to just go with the flow, loosen up, really paint it how you want it to be painted. All right, while that dries, I am going to come in. I'm going to make this little mountain range here just a little bit of a darker color. I'm going to blend it out so it gets a little lighter towards the second one here, so it has a little misty effect. I'm letting the top bleed out. That'll give it some texture. And just leaning in to my watercolors. Ultramarine blue. I just added a little more to blue this up. I'm going to make this one a little darker down here. All right, I'm going to let all that dry. I'm going to add in my telephone pole. And yeah, I think we'll be done. All right, we're back and everything is dry. I'm going to get into my Payne's gray. And we're going to paint in that telephone pole and then maybe add a few more details, or silhouette details, I should say. All right, painting in this pole, trying not to make it too crooked and curvy. But keep the little lines on it. All right, so I'm going to switch to, I have a detail brush here. Or if you have a rigger, I have rigger brushes or fine liners, you can use those. I'm going to use this to paint in those really thin wires.
And just make sure your paint has nice flow. I can see that mine did not. And then I'm going to paint some others this way. So then by going back over them, they got a little thick. There we go. But it was kind of messy and thick, like when I was driving over. It's in a neighborhood. I know it doesn't look like it in this picture. It looks like the middle of nowhere in the mountains, but it's not. We just happen to have a good view. There we go. What do we think? What do we think? I could even go over here. I was feeling really crazy. Let's say I could add like the edge of a house, the roof of a house. I don't want to add the whole thing, but like just peeking out here. And just some things sticking up from it. Just making it a little more dense, a little more like a neighborhood. Like there's things in the way. There's a house there. There's some kind of other things sticking up over here. A roof, a chimney. There we go. I do feel like I want more contrast in here. I want more of those darker kind of purple in-betweens. I'm going to add some of this really dark gray, but I'm going to try to blend. Ooh, I put it on and it was too dry, too dry. So now it's going to leave like these really dark marks. I should have pre-wet everything. See? I make mistakes all the time. So I just wet everything and I'm going back and I'm making this a little more purple. I'm going to add a little more purple and darker color here, but it's already wet, so it's going to blend out very easily and very nicely. So I'm going to wet the rest of this up here. And I'm just going to add a few more dark spots. There we go. All right, and I'm just gonna blend them a little bit more and then I'm gonna call it a day. Otherwise it's gonna get really overworked. But the sky was super de-duper bright like this. It was like so dramatic. Like I said, it was showing off for everybody. So there we go. Okay. Let's take off our tape. Everything is not completely dry yet, but if I don't take off my tape for y'all, you are very unsatisfied at the end. And I don't blame you. I too would be unsatisfied. Oh, look at those nice clean lines. Ah, that looks so, it looks so much better than I thought it was going to look when I first started. So I am very happy with this little journal entry. Really captures kind of that look and feel of that dramatic, beautiful, bold sky that I got to witness tonight. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed day 100, where we didn't take this too seriously. We weren't too precious. We just went in and had a great time painting a nice loose landscape from an ordinary spot in my neighborhood, and it just happened to have a beautiful, bright, dramatic sky today. So don't forget to check out the description, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and welcome if you are new. The description has links to supplies and materials that I use on a daily basis, including all the ones we used here today in this video, a list of all the colors that you might want to know that I used. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, where you can see other posts of upcoming videos and sometimes my dog in my stories. So, all right, take care, y'all. Happy painting, and I'll see you for our next page very soon.